Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, the Crypto Hipster, Jamil Hassan, where I bring you founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, artists, musicians, you name it, all over the world in crypto and blockchain. And today and this summer season, I am bringing to you a new compilation episode. Last year, from seasons 1, 2, and 3, I brought you the Crypto Hipsters Chronicles. And now, from season 4 and 5, without further ado, I bring you the Crypto Hipsters Mysticals. And what that is, what it was last year, and what it is this year, it's a compilation. It's a compilation of 3 or 4 podcasts together as like a montage. And on a certain topic or area of interest in crypto and blockchain, pulling from my podcasts. And now, as we're heading into the summer of 2023, I bring to you the Crypto Hipsters Mysticals. And there's going to be 22 or 23 or 24 around their episodes. And I look forward to you looking forward to it. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for enjoying my podcasts. And this is going to be a summer treat for everybody. So please sit back, enjoy, and let me know your thoughts. Welcome to Crypto Hipsters Mysticals, episode 9, Sustainability and Dominion, Bridging the Divide between the Abstract and the Concrete. This Mysticals episode is a compilation of clips from 3 podcasts. First is Ryan Fishoff, who's the CEO and co-founder of eTukTuk. Second, Gregory Jones, who's the president and CEO of Jones Global Holdings. And third is Denis Creighton, who's the CEO of IMPT. Enjoy. So let's go back to your comment, flatten the curve. Right. There is some fear. There might be just fear. We've had some accidents here in the U.S. recently. One is a train in Ohio, right? There's been some crashes and collisions in South Carolina and Texas as well.
Sure.
And you have dying infrastructure here in the U.S. I see that, and the fear is that we're going to go back into lockdown. I don't know how real that fear is, but what lessons can we learn from what you're doing in your project to be able to innovate transportation and make it more eco-friendly and safer?
Well, I don't think, I think certainly, what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, I think that's, just I think that, that's more than an infrastructure conversation. That's a corporate responsibility, discussion as well. I think, what happened there is a confluence of infrastructure as well as corporate oversight, especially with very, very volatile chemicals. We're not really dealing with, we're fortunate that we're not dealing with volatile and toxic chemicals. So I'm happy that we don't have that level of let's say high level of security or high level of a high standard that we have to achieve with TukTuk. I think it's a pretty eco-friendly system that we're building. It's not we're not using toxic chemicals. It's proven electronics that we're using. So I think from that nature, we're fortunate. But I think what we're doing is building a case study for how cities around the world, whether it be in the developing world or the developed world, can use investment in clean tech to help better themselves and help better their local populations. And I think that's the key takeaway from what we're building in Sri Lanka and other cities in the developing world. You will see an impact as far as the carbon emissions, and you will see an impact in terms of the health. Now that the health of the populace, that will take a little longer to have a discernible impact. But certainly you will see there will be an impact felt on the long term. I think that's what any municipality or any city should be focusing on when they're addressing infrastructure investment, is that the infrastructure is designed to help improve the quality of life for the population. And you're seeing that in other places too, especially, I can't speak for some of the suburban locations, but you are seeing it in cities in New York and in Boston. They're making a concerted effort to make the cities more walkable and creating more open space. And the effect on the quality of life, certainly is discernible. So I think it's not to make it a coastal versus Midwest discussion, but there's certainly something to be said about the proper infrastructure development. In terms of also making sure that there's mass transportation available, building bridges, making sure there's enough mass transportation. I think New York certainly erred when they rebuilt the Tappan Zee Bridge and not having a train line a Metro North extension to Rockland County. I think that was a huge blunder, and I think we will be paying for it for a very long time. But that, I think, is a perfect example of how proper infrastructure investment can help spur economic development as well as socioeconomic health.
I hear you. I go to the Jets game sometimes, and when I drive back over that bridge, it takes 3 hours to get home.
Right.
So the train would have helped. But I don't really make this a Midwest versus coast conversation. I look at it more like when you talk about environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I look at it as far as my generation. As far as I'm a Gen Xer,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the environmental stuff to me, to my generation, is abstract, right? But then the younger generations, it's very concrete, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you bridge that divide, and how do you make it so that the community perspective and aspect that you're working on, how's it like to bring it together, mesh together well?
Well, I think it's interesting you say that, because I think the abstract versus concrete. I mean, I think crypto in general is a very abstract concept to a lot of people, and that's why a lot of people don't necessarily adhere to it or like it, so to speak, because some of it is very abstract. And I think let's say the millennials or even zennials are more receptive to crypto because it is abstract and they have been growing up in this tech world. So I think there's a unique dichotomy there that you mentioned. But I think from an adoption perspective, yes, I think what we're doing is we're trying to make it as easy as possible. What we're building in Sri Lanka is our app will be able to accept fiat currency too. They'll be able to accept those dead presidents or presidents paper with presidents on them. I think that's important for adaptation, making it more accessible, making it more receptive to different generations who may not be crypto friendly or who may not be comfortable with crypto. So I think that's bridging the gap is very important, and I think we want to make it as inclusive as possible. But I think the themes that whether you're a Gen Xer, millennial, zennial, even a baby boomer, I think everyone is smart enough or has the awareness that there's environmental problems, and what we're building here tries to address those problems. And I don't think it matters if you're in New York, Ohio, Texas, Colombo, Ho Chi Minh City. I think everyone sees that there's a problem, and certainly wants to be able to act in a way that collectively can work to change behaviors or work to find a way to solve some of these problems.
So you have a coin, you said crypto, you have a coin called the NASDAQ coin, not to be confused with the NASDAQ exchange with the Q. You have NASDAQ crypto coin. What's that all about, including your target users and use cases?
Okay. Now, and also, Jamil, I want to just take it a step further. NASDAQ coin, not to be confused with the NASDAQ stock exchange, right? It's spelled with a C, NASDAC, but also not to be confused with NASDAQ coin, which is NASDACOIN. So it's NASDAQ, NASDAC Dogecoin, right? And actually, just out of the gate, NASDAQ is actually an acronym. We do a lot within the faith-based community, and something that's very important to the faith-based community, which is tens of millions of people, is a single term called dominion. Okay, and so with that term being said, that's part of the acronym for NASDAQ coin, which is now, accelerate, systematic, dominion, according to Christ. All right. So that's where it is. Now, let me say this. We work with the faith-based community, but NASDAQ coin is not a faith-based only exclusive type of cryptocurrency project. I want to make that very, very clear. We have a lot of faith-based folks that are involved in NASDAQ coin. However, if you look at certain principles, okay, whether it's in a fable book, whether it's in a Bible, whether it's in a philosopher's writing, certain things just make sense. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, honor thy father and thy mother. These are fantastic, awesome principles. And these are principles that are based on, Christ, the principles of Christ. So that's how we look at things, and that's how we approach things. So that is where NASDAQ comes from. It's actually attached to something that's very, very important to, faith-based community, who I'm very fond of.
Now that's interesting. It's really interesting, because my follow-up questions are going to be even more interesting. But to launch this NASDAQ coin, you used a technique called zero marketing, right? So what's zero marketing all about? And, how does that differ? How did you take your approach to be different than what you see how a lot of cryptocurrencies get launched?
Okay, so I'm going to say something right here, Jamel, and some people aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but it's the truth, okay? So we got involved in cryptocurrency, and when we got involved with cryptocurrency, we, did some investing in Bitcoin, and, that went well, right? Then we began going a step deeper and got into mining and mining Bitcoin with the high electric bills and all that kind of stuff. And that went well. So then, of course, stealth methodology, this top coin here, that's Bitcoin, what is this really all about? Let's dissect this and really get into it from a granular standpoint. And quite frankly, and yes, I'm the founder of a crypto coin, but quite frankly, once we got all the way in, and let me just say this as a side note, this is in no way a knock on what Satoshi Nakamoto created, all right? All of this, we all stand on this one man's shoulders, okay? So if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here doing what we're doing. But when I got down into it, one of the things that it kind of, and if I could put an analogy to it, Jamel, it was kind of like the emperor's new clothes. That's really the closest analogy, and that coming from a crypto coin founder, that sounds kind of strange that I would say that the cryptocurrency space at that moment, just really appeared to be the emperor's new clothes. And everybody knows that story. Well, I spoke with, my team and, people around me, and I said, listen, if we created something that really had some substance and could really kind of get in there and fill some of the holes that are there, we could pretty much, and here comes that D word again, we could create something that could take dominion in the cryptocurrency space. And so what we did was we looked at what was in front of us, and then we blueprinted what we wanted our coin, which is NASDAQ coin, NASDAC, to look like. And part of that process, again, applying stealth methodology to what we were doing, we took basically all of the strengths of Bitcoin and none of the weaknesses, and used that as a foundation to build NASDAQ coin. So we took all the strengths, none of the weaknesses, and then added our proprietary IP on top of that.
When you're bringing a carbon solution to Web3, there still remains significant and difficult challenges, right? What are some of those significant and difficult challenges, and then how do we solve them?
Yeah, I mean, some of the challenges we've already touched on, which can be definitely addressed by the blockchain because of the security, the transparency, and I think the whole area of verification as well, and compliance. From our point of view, we were at a blockchain summit in Bangkok the end of last year, and we were the only company that had our chief legal officer with us. And we have on our advisory board 2 legal people as well, 1 blockchain, 1 commercial, from understanding what the benefits are of the blockchain to actually give the security and transparency, and also using the NFT process, which has got a lot of bad press and people only associate it with memes and that, but actually it's got some great commercial uses, right? And I think it's only a matter of time we're going to see that move more into that space. I think it probably didn't get explained well enough in the beginning, and people start to see it as digital art as opposed to actually what else it can deliver for us. And I think as well, I mentioned it previously, that every touch point can be seen on the blockchain is a huge advantage. And that way, the model that we've deployed in our partnership with Talo and with others is the ability that all of these ethically sourced projects are very clear to give you that comfort factor that we've done the groundwork and that we're putting our name behind it, and we're able to prove that these are proper projects. And you then have a choice to actually decide, you know what, this month I'm doing something to do with water irrigation. Next month I'm doing something with tree plantation, reforestation. Month after that, I'll pick whatever is cool at that point. But it gets you to the position then that you're actually making a decision. All we're doing is we're the enabler. We've created this framework on the blockchain that allows you actually source these carbon credits, and we don't have to go and produce the research. It's all out there. And a comment I make regularly is that politicians create policy, but it's people that actually make the change. And I think it's down to entrepreneurs and business people and ourselves to get out there and actually, do things that will help make a difference. And that's what IMPT is about. That's what the management team's focus is on. And that's something that excites us because we've, as I said, we started out originally with a Web 2 project, and now Web 3 it's taken away all of the pain for us, and it's actually given us that competitive advantage.
You said a magic word there, and that's ethics, right? I have 3 books entitled Blockchain Ethics, but I don't think I defined what ethics are. I defined what the lack of ethics are. How would you define what ethics are from your perspective?
For me, I suppose I've covered it in the last couple of questions, in the sense that with the blockchain, everything is transparent, everything is visible, and you get to make the choices, which is actually something that's very rare out there, is that transparency. You don't like it, you don't have to do it. That's the great thing on the blockchain. And I think as well, working with the likes of Talo, who are, doing some clever things in the blockchain as well, we're going to end up with an ecosystem of blockchain ethics, compliance, transparency from end to end on everything to do what we're about, right? And I think when people start to see that, okay, this is a very interesting retail play, which has a significant impact on the environment using the carbon credit market, it'll actually also create an opportunity for a lot of people that are involved in the carbon credit space to migrate what they're doing currently onto the blockchain space as well. And of course, we benefit from that because that gives us quicker access to more projects and more carbon credit programs, and that can expand. And I think that's been the challenge to date, because I've seen some of the well-known carbon credit verification programs saying, oh, we don't want to go near the blockchain. Actually, they didn't really, I think, understand what the blockchain meant. I think they were thinking more of a tokenization model. They were thinking more of a crypto model, as opposed to actually the technology of the blockchain would have enhanced their whole verification process and transparency right from the get-go.